Did you know that soybeans were not called soybeans when they arrived in the United States?
And did you know that soybeans were first used in the United States as a forage crop?
That and much more we're going to discuss in today's video, the history of soybeans. Stay tuned! Hello everyone, my name is Thiago I'm the Learning Center trainee. In today's video we are going to talk about the history of soybeans. Do you know where soybeans came from? Soybeans came from the southwestern part of Asia, more specifically China. And what we have here in this field is basically a demonstration of, like I said, the history of soybeans. In our left we have the oldest, and as we go to the right we have the newest soybean varieties. So what we have here is the oldest known soybean variety, or I would say wild soybeans. This is how soybeans used to look like in the environment before domestication. And right behind that we have one of the first, or not one of the first, actually the first domesticated soybean variety called Ito-san. So we have very old material here. We have Ito-san, we have Manchu, Kingston, Mandarin. Those are the very oldest, or I would say the oldest soybean varieties known by us. And just just an observation, soybeans were domesticated by ancient Chinese farmers around the 11th century before Christ. And they only arrived in the United States in 1765 by a sailor named Samuel Bowen that was employed by the Eastern India companies. And at the time, the word soybeans wasn't used. Soybeans until 1804, soybeans were known as Chinese vetch. The first citation of the word soybeans in the literature was found in 1804. So at the time, soybeans were only cultivated as an ornamental plant. It wasn't really cultivated for production purposes, like in botanical gardens, in house gardens. Soybeans first arrived in the Midwest in 1851, more specifically in the state of Illinois. But at the time, soybeans were only used as a forage crop, not really for protein or oil like we see nowadays. And in 1904, an American agricultural scientist named George Washington Carver, who was one of the first scientists to promote crop rotation. In his field observations, Carver noticed that cotton that was planted in rotation with soybeans yielded much better in the next years. We already know that soybeans have that characteristic of fixing nitrogen in the soil. So yeah, Carver also found in his research that soybeans were a valuable source of protein and oil. After Carver, we have William Morse. He's called the father of US soybean production. He co-founded the American Soybean Association, and he was also involved in the first genetically bred soybean variety in the United States, which is around here, which is here actually, this variety. That was in 1920, the first 100% American soybean variety called Mandarin. But it wasn't until the 1940s or the Second World War that soybeans really took off in the United States. So at the time, China was the biggest producer in the world, but had to close production because of war. So basically very high demands for oil, for proteins, for lubricants at the time, led to a lot of research involving soybeans, and the United States became the largest soybean producer. Now we're going to move with some of the modern soybean varieties.
Hi, my name is Alex Rosa, Learning Center Agronomist. Well, and continuing with the soybean video here, so since then, since the 1940s, 1950s, a lot of the work of breeding on soybeans basically focus on a few characteristics that you can imagine in terms of pest management, oil content, protein, and also to adapt this crop to a variety of regions, right? So it could be grown in the northern part of the country, in the south, and everywhere, as we know nowadays. And really the biggest biotech event in history was probably the launch of the Roundup Ready soybeans by Monsanto back in 1996, which really revolutionized the system where farmers can spray, at that time of course, glyphosate and pretty much take care of all the weeds around, right? And the soybean breeding kept evolving with better varieties, trying to reduce the shelling characteristic that some of those old varieties would have. As you saw on our previous takes here, it's very hard to harvest old soybean varieties because they shell before the plant is ready to be cut, and that's a breeding process that has been evolving. And then of course, after those, there were in South America the launches of the Intacta soybeans, which is a BT soybeans, right, to take care of some of our caterpillars down in that part of the world. And here in North America in 2016, we had the launch, which is another big milestone for soybeans, the launch of Xtend soybeans. And then moving to 2021, the latest biotech package, let's say this way, was the launch of Xtend Flex soybeans. You can see in this history of soybeans, a lot of evolution, a lot of agronomic knowledge put into this crop, making this one of the crops most grown around the world with a huge impact in the US economy. That's it for this video. Stay tuned for the next one. Thank you.